Why does your own body feel like it's fighting against this planet? We're the only species that suffers from chronic back pain, gets deadly sunburns, or has to cut its own hair just to function. Evolution is supposed to make us fit, but for humans, Earth feels off. Our internal clocks refuse to follow a 24-hour day, and there are 223 genes in our DNA that shouldn't even exist. So what are we? A water ape mystery? Or a biological experiment left behind by ancient architects? Today, we're looking at the evidence mainstream science rarely talks about, from blue blood to the microscopic machines walking inside your cells right now. It's time to face the truth. We might not be from here at all. Let's dive in. There is the aquatic theory, also known as the aquatic ape hypothesis, the idea of a Hydropithecus. Like the savanna theory, it is only a hypothesis, yet it attempts to explain certain aspects of human development. According to this view, after leaving the jungle, our ancestor did not move into the savanna, but toward water, the sea, rivers, lakes, to swim, to dive. Here are some human traits associated with the aquatic theory. Modern humans are able to dive thanks to voluntary control over their breathing. Moreover, humans have what is known as the airway closing reflex when submerged in water. This reflex automatically activates when water reaches the face. The airway is not fully separated from the esophagus. The larynx sits relatively low in the throat. A similar structure is found mainly in aquatic mammals, such as seals. This allows for controlled breathing, breath holding, and diving. The human body has a vital need for iodine and sodium chloride, salt, which is abundant in seafood. A lack of iodine in the diet leads to thyroid disorders. There is also the possibility of sustaining a diet almost entirely from marine resources, for example, in traditional Japanese cuisine. The presence of slight webbing between the fingers and toes. Around 7% of people are born with webbed toes. Humans also have a small web between the thumb and index finger, which primates do not. Newborn babies are covered with vernix caseosa, a protective coating also characteristic of marine mammals, but not of apes. Newborns also display a swimming reflex, which in modern humans is considered an atavistic trait. A significant amount of fatty tissue in the human mammary glands is unique to our species. This may be explained by the need to keep milk warm in cold water. In female apes, the mammary glands are small and lack fatty tissue. All of this is well and good, but what if the Hydropithecus didn't swim on this planet? Or perhaps it doesn't even matter where it swam. What matters is that it may have served as a donor of genetic material. A number of historical sources point to a cosmic origin of humanity. In Sumerian mythology, the process of human creation is described in the greatest detail. According to these sources, in the very beginning the world was ruled by gods, interpreted today by some as representatives of extraterrestrial civilizations who resembled humans. They came from the heavens to earth, whose development required considerable effort. The god Enki proposed creating humans in order to transfer the burden of labor onto them. One of the gods was put to death, his genetic material was taken, and as the source states, his flesh and blood were mixed with clay. From this mixture, the first human was created, similar to the gods, yet serving them as a slave. Other ancient texts also frequently mention human-like beings created by Enki and a mother goddess. And here is something interesting. Analysis of mitochondrial DNA has shown that all humans descend from a single woman who lived around 200,000 years ago, the so-called mitochondrial Eve. Recent scientific studies also suggest that the human genome contains 223 genes that are not found in other inhabitants of our planet. Perphtrin, sometimes referred to as blue blood, was developed in the early 1980s and can be used for all humans without exception. It is an artificial oxygen carrier that has a bluish tint. Interestingly, the expression blue blood has for centuries been used to describe the upper classes and aristocracy. It is usually explained by pale skin through which blue veins were visible. But what if, in ancient times, the term had a more literal meaning? Human blood, like that of most animals, is red because of hemoglobin, which contains iron ions. However, there are organisms that use hemocyanin instead of hemoglobin, a respiratory pigment based on copper. The blood of such creatures is indeed blue. These include certain mollusks and arthropods. If we imagine a hypothetical planet where copper is more abundant than iron, evolution there might have followed a different path. Oxygen transport in the blood could have relied on copper rather than iron. And in that case, the expression blue blood might carry a very different meaning. A body temperature of 36.6 degrees Celsius is also not random, as it is at this temperature that water has its minimum heat capacity. To maintain the water in the body at 36.6 degrees Celsius requires less heat than at other temperatures. This means less fuel in the form of food and less overall strain on the body cells and systems. This temperature is too low to destroy viruses directly, but the body has a mechanism for raising it to 40 degrees Celsius and above, when many bacteria and viruses are neutralized. It may seem that humans are not perfectly adapted to life under Earth's conditions, as suggested by certain physiological limitations. Specialists point to a considerable number of such inconsistencies. For example, why would evolution give humans continuously growing hair on the head? For survival? That seems questionable. Imagine a child in ancient times, without scissors, with hair constantly obstructing vision, movement, or the ability to run. Explaining the persistent and relatively rapid growth of hair on the head purely through evolutionary mechanisms remains difficult. When an anomaly does occur in animals, as in the case of certain apes, fur is typically lost across the entire body, not in such a selective way. Childbirth in humans is also significantly more difficult than in most animals, and the period of helplessness in a human newborn is unusually long compared to the animal world. Back pain and other musculoskeletal disorders are often linked to the imperfect adaptation of the human skeleton to current planetary conditions. Humans can break their limbs from a fall at their own height, something rarely observed in animals. Without clothing, humans can survive only within a very narrow temperature range of approximately 20 to 26 degrees Celsius. Our thermoregulation system is based largely on evaporation, which implies the need for clothing and does not assume a full body covering of hair. Incidentally, this remains an open question in evolutionary discussions. Where did the dense body hair go? Magnetic storms are said to have a negative impact on humans. Changes in the frequencies of the Schumann resonances are also believed to affect us. During intense running, breathing accelerates to the point that the body appears to struggle to supply enough oxygen for all metabolic processes. This has led some to suggest that the biological body may have been adapted to a different ratio of gases in the atmosphere. The same question applies to sleep patterns. The human circadian rhythm is not exactly aligned with a 24-hour day. People who spend long periods in complete isolation, for example speleologists, often shift to a longer daily cycle of 26 to 32 hours. There has even been a documented case of a 56-hour near circadian rhythm. This unusual feature has led some to speculate that a 24-hour day may not be the body's natural baseline. If we were to shrink down to the nanoscale and journey inside a living cell, we would see electric motors, conveyor systems, assembly lines, and even walking robots. According to biologists, around 40 molecular machines known to science operate within a living cell. They transport cargo along molecular tracks and act as switches that turn chemical processes on and off. These molecular machines generate energy to sustain life, contract our muscles, and build other molecular machines. For example, proton ADP synthase is the smallest biological electric motor in nature, measuring only about 10 nanometers across. With its help, living organisms produce adenosine triphosphate. ADP consists of adenosine and stores a significant amount of energy. This stored energy is used to power a wide range of biochemical reactions. Kinesin is a linear molecular motor, that moves through the cell along tracks made of polymer filaments. Like a dock worker, it carries various types of cargo, mitochondria, lysosomes, using ADP molecules as fuel. Visually, kinesin resembles a tiny toy figure woven from thin strands of rope. When one end of the molecule consumes energy, an ADP molecule, the other releases a component involved in energy production, ADP. The result is a continuous cycle of energy input and output that enables useful work. Research has shown that kinesin is capable of stepping briskly through the cell on its rope-like legs. With each step measuring only about 8 nanometers, it can travel distances of up to 800 nanometers. Enormous on the cellular scale. In other words, it takes around 100 steps per second. Try to imagine such speeds in the human world. Walking along microtubule pathways, kinesin transports a wide range of cargo inside the cell. All of this resembles the product of a civilization capable of creating artificial forms of life. And recent research suggests that this may not be purely speculative. Humans are already able to create artificial nanorobots that may one day live and operate within the intracellular environment. As early as the 1990s, British scientists at the University of Sheffield developed the first molecular shuttle, a synthetic device capable of controlled molecular movement. It was built using a rotaxane, an artificial structure in which a ring-shaped molecule is threaded onto a linear molecule. In 2010, a group of American bioengineers, led by Milan Stojanovic, created a molecular nanorobot capable of moving along DNA. During the experiment, scientists were able to observe their nanorobot independently take 50 steps and travel a distance of 100 nanometers. The robot, which resembles a tiny spider, can autonomously execute several commands: move forward, turn, and stop. Just 3 years later, English and Scottish bioengineers, under the leadership of David Lee, created the world's first molecular nanoconveyor, a nanomachine capable of assembling peptides, short proteins. In nature, this task is performed by ribosomes, organelles found within our cells. The bioengineers based their machine on a rotaxane molecule, and along its axis, were able to assemble a protein with specific properties from individual amino acids. So if scientists on Earth are capable of creating artificial life, why would that possibility be unavailable to other civilizations? In that sense, discussions about a creator begin to take on a somewhat different meaning, don't they? Let me know in the comments what you think about all of this. And if the topic interests you, show it with a like. We'll keep digging deeper. See you next time.